This was such a wonderful opportunity to bring together the two most important collections of Sargent's watercolors, the ones that he selected himself, first in 1909 that went to the Brooklyn Museum, and then in 1912 for the MFA. And to bring them together for the first time gives people an unprecedented opportunity to see what Sargent thought were his finest works in the medium.
Sargent culled the Brooklyn works from a slightly longer period of time, beginning around 1902 or 3 and ending in late 1908. And what he did was include a wide variety of subjects, but most of the works themselves tend to be a little bit more on the experimental side, owing to the fact that he didn't really anticipate showing or selling them, and certainly not to a museum.
It's simply the most beautiful show we've had in a long time. Works that show Italian gardens, alpine subjects. Fans of watercolor will be interested in Sargent's technique, which runs a vast gamut from simple washes to very complicated watercolor techniques. Well, every day I have a different one that I want to take home, but today it's Corfu Lights and Shadows from the MFA's collection, which is such a simple subject, but made into the most magical exploration of sunlight and shadow that you can imagine.
I have about 10 favorites. Some of them change, but The Tramp, a portrait from Brooklyn's collection, is very deeply moving, and I think shows you how Sargent was really expanding on his primary work in the watercolors. When I decided to write about the garden subjects, I realized that it would be a good thing to understand more about the places. So I was able to travel to Florence and to Lucca and visit some of those gardens, and they're spectacularly beautiful and large and very complex in design. But Sargent, I think in his watercolors, was trying to show you how to see the most interesting aspects of the gardens themselves. He often shows very circumscribed corners, but where the light play and the play of stone against greenery was really most beautiful.
We wanted to have a space in the exhibition where people could really learn more about the history of these collections and the way they were first selected and seen. And one thing that I think is particularly fun for Bostonians is the role that a man named Edward Darley Boyd played in the organization of those shows. Boyd, of course, was the father of the 4 little girls in the MFA's famous portrait, The Daughters of Edward Darley Boyd. Boyd was a watercolor painter himself.
We each got to visit the other collection, and we both looked at every single work very carefully, as if for the first time. And while we gravitated to subjects that each of us was interested in, we really made an effort to make sense of the entire group in terms of Sargent's watercolor practice, and the separate groups in terms of what was similar, what was very different, and how they complemented one another.
So you succeeded.
We did.
I think we did.